AFWJ, if you would like to explain about that, because Stacy introduced me to this association, which if you're thinking of coming to Japan, especially if you're going to get married to somebody Japanese and you're a lady, you can join this the association. So would you like to just tell us a little bit about it?
You're a lady or you are...
Hello, it's Lisa, and today I'm at the home of my friend who lives in Yokkaichi. So, can you tell us your name?
I'm Stacy.
And where are you from, Stacy?
I'm from British Columbia, Canada.
British Columbia. And what's it like there? What's it weather-wise? Is it like Japan or?
Okay, what's it like? It's very similar to Japan, and it's mountainous, and the mountains are forested. In terms of weather, Hokkaido has a similar summer.
All right, okay. So it's not over hot.
No, it can get very hot. It was over 40 degrees recently in British Columbia. There are raging forest fires every summer now. So it can get extremely hot, like an oven, but not like a steam sauna.
Yeah, not like here.
here.
So how long have you been in Japan?
21 years.
21 years, that's quite a long time. And what reason did
Hold on. How long have you been in Japan?
A little bit longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah, altogether about 25.
25?
Yeah, living here, I'm 25. I was actually here from, about 30, more than 30 years ago the first time I came. But yeah, living here permanently, 25 years, yeah. So, about the same. And what was your reason for coming to Japan?
I came to work.
Right, okay. And what do you do?
Teach English. I like to change that word to coach. I coach English. Mm-hmm. People have already spent years and years desk study, learning all their verbs and the reading and writing and such. And so I got the pleasure at the end of just coaxing them into conversation, which is...
Yeah, which is not easy for Japanese people often, is it? They're quite shy.
Yeah, but I love my job. I started in Korea.
Oh, right. Yes, South Korea.
South Korea. Yes.
And what are the differences between Korea and Japan? Because they're both Asian countries. Is there anything that you would say?
Huge differences in culture. And climate too. It's not steamy hot in Busan, South Korea in the summer. Not so steamy. Big difference. I was just thinking back to when I first came. I lived next to Family Mart. And I went to Family Mart every day for my daily needs. All kinds of foods are available.
Convenience stores. Family Mart is very popular.
Like salads and soups and rice dishes. And I would see the same gentleman at the till pretty much every time. I'm sure he was the owner. And I would always try my Japanese with him. Konnichiwa, arigato, ikura desu ka? And he never cracked a smile. And I was in that apartment for 2.5 years or so. Never once. But in Korea, I would have people coming up to me.
Right.
Oh, where are you from? And oh, what do you do? And can you teach my daughter English?
Right.
So that's the difference.
That's a big difference, yeah. So it's quite hard sometimes to get to know the Japanese people. It takes a while, doesn't it? Yeah, they can be quite shy. So obviously now you're living here a long time. Do you have any family here? Do you live alone?
Oh, okay. So yeah, I was thinking about, you were going to ask me, how long have I been a couple? And I think I came in March. And I got together with my husband probably in August.
Okay, that's pretty quick.
But we dated for, 4 or 5 years before I could decide, because I wasn't just marrying a man. This man was attached to his country. He wasn't going to be going anywhere. He didn't want to live abroad. So when I was deciding marriage, I had to accept living my whole life in Japan. And that was a really, even now, I can't imagine, is my gravestone going to be in this country?
But do you think he would want to live abroad now, or do you think he still wouldn't?
No.
No.
No. And so we have a 15-year-old son now who is also, I think, feeling like, very, very intimately connected with this country and doesn't have any aspirations to live abroad.
So it looks like you're going to be here.
Yes.
But you enjoy life here, obviously. You've been here 21 years. So.
21. That's what I want to say, is that was one of the deciding factors. I had been here, I came in 2003 and I married in 2007. So that time it just went by so quickly. Each day, I was working full time, that makes life faster.
Yeah, sure.
But just because the time passed so quickly and I was enjoying myself so much.
That's good.
I just, I just knew that it's going to be okay. That each day takes care of itself and a lifetime will go, it's intimidating to think, forever.
I think,
forever people are asking, how long have you been in Japan? And you can use chopsticks. But each day is marvelous. I'm still learning so much from my life, and I think that if I had stayed in British Columbia, it might have got boring.
Right. So you find it more exhilarating, shall we say, here?
There's so much I want to do still.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's always a good thing when there's more. So you've been here. So you working here, and what about your hobbies? What else do you do? So you're a very busy life. So what do you?
I have a wonderful, blessed life, and I have to thank my husband very much for that. So
thank you to your husband.
Besides coaching English part-time, I go to the city gym and I play table tennis. I do yoga class. I've been doing art class recently, and I'm a forest therapy guide, and in this season I like to do Japanese maple walk.
So do you guide in English or Japanese?
Both.
Okay. So anybody who wants to come here and wants to live in Japan, loves nature, Stacy will be your guide.
Please, I'm always looking for people. I think maybe 5 is a good number of participants, and it takes 3 hours to.
So what do? You do like a trail? You do a walking trail?
Yeah, so now I've been here long enough, I have a trail for each season. Except summer, I don't go out. It's too sweaty hot in the summer.
It's too humid.
But I have a trail, and each time I do a different route, but it's a quiet practice, and it's 3 connections: connecting with other people, the people on the walk, and connecting with nature, and connecting with yourself.
Yeah, that's very important.
There are 10-minute set times where people are alone, and then they come together and they share what they noticed.
Oh, that's cool. That sounds really good. And I know that you're very sort of involved with the AFWJ, if you would like to explain about that, because Stacy introduced me to this association, which if you're thinking of coming to Japan, especially if you're going to get married to somebody Japanese and you're a lady, you can join this the association. So would you like to just tell us a little bit about it?
You're a lady, or you are assigned female at birth.
Right.
We're changing our constitution.
Yes, we are.
So when I decided to marry, probably around 2006, I was researching a lot about what life would be like for me. And I came across this association of foreign wives of Japanese. And it's a support group. Actually, we don't support each other. When we get together, we just have fun.
But that is support, isn't it?
Support.
That is support.
Now it is burgeoned on Facebook, and we have all kinds of subgroups. I'm in an art group and a cycling group. At that time I was working full time, so I only got together with with other ladies about 3 times.
And now you're the district representative.
Yeah, so then I moved across Japan and I wanted to get connected with my new place. And I thought, well, I'll join the association again and see if there are any women in my position in Mie Prefecture. And there were a couple, and one of them
You found me?
Yeah, well, one of them became my good friend, and then I found you another way. There was an open mic event.
Yeah.
And then I happened to mention to you, or somehow I found out that your husband was Japanese. I said, oh, do you know about the association?
And I didn't, and I've been here a long time and I didn't know. So just a heads up, if you are coming, you can find out about it, but even before you come, because it's so helpful.
Even if you live abroad, you can be a member.
This is true.
Members all around the world.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Okay, so when you first came to Japan, was there anything that really surprised you?
Thank you for the question. I've been working on this question going back down memory lane. 2003. I think pretty much everything delighted me. Everything about Japan delighted me. And what is it when you first come to a country, you're in honeymoon stage?
Yeah, honeymoon period.
I think the honeymoon period lasted pretty much 10 years for me.
Wow, that's a long time.
I think I still get bits of it coming back to me where I was like, oh yeah, I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah, I think we all have that feeling when you first come here because it's just such a different country, different place, isn't it?
So I was making a list. The flowers, the bamboo, the number of dishes served at a hot spring inn.
Oh, right.
It just covers the table and it just keeps coming. And massage chairs.
Oh, massage chairs are brilliant. Yeah,
they're
amazing.
Abroad too. They're abroad in international airports and such. But
not so much, right? Yeah, maybe just a couple in the airport, but we don't really tend to have them at home so much, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, so people buy them. So I used to go to the electronics store and just test them out.
Yeah, you can just test them out in the electronics store.
Not sure how happy they are about that. But also in the shopping centers and at the hot spring inns.
Yeah.
So I love massage chairs. Conveyor belt sushi, everybody knows about that. The level of care and service. So I was just looking over an old journal about going to Honda. And even just recently, they have a menu with hot and cold drinks. Sometimes they they often give some snack. And in the washroom, there's different creams for your hands. And if it's raining, they'll hold an umbrella over you.
And that's anywhere pretty much that you go, the service, any kind of store, any shop or anything.
Yeah, the service is phenomenal.
Yeah, crazy, yeah.
So you're leaving Honda, they step out, they stop all the traffic, and they let you get out. It's incredible.
Yeah, that is true. That's a big difference.
Festivals were the big one.
Festivals.
I love Japanese festivals, and that's when Japanese people become friendly.
Yes. Let their guard down. Yeah. Maybe have a beer or two and relax.
So maybe you were asked what surprises me. I remember at Kiryu in Gunma, the festival, there were young guys with really dark skin and blonde hair it was in cornrows, braids. Yeah. Japanese men.
Whoa.
I've got pictures I want to show you. Okay. And one guy, he had a kanji character shaved into the back of his head. So that was really amazing to me. And the guys often wear fundoshi, which is a little, like a big
nappy. Adult nappy, they would call them.
Yeah, and so
the sumo guys.
I had my eyes getting big and wow.
Yes, they're all really big and a bit overdone, the festivals, aren't they? And amazing, yeah. And sometimes they pull lavish little carts and things, don't they? Yeah, it's really cool.
They go on all night.
Yeah. Lots of fireworks, lots of dancing and all kinds of things, yeah. Food, of course. Wherever you go in Japan, there's food
coming up from the stalls.
Yeah, it's great. So we don't have anything like that really, do we? We have a carnival maybe once a year. Or, I don't know, we in Britain do, but it's not quite the same.
No, it's a different thing.
Yeah. So it has to be done. Yes, if you're coming to Japan, you have to go to a festival. Yeah.
I think that's when you get in touch with the culture because
Yeah.
it's a bit of a melting pot in the big cities now.
Yeah, this is true. I suppose, yes, if you're living in the city, it's not maybe so Japanese as, kind of more rural areas like such as we live. But yeah. So that was surprised you, and what impressed you?
Oh, okay. I'm still going through
Oh, you're
this
going
list.
surprise. Okay.
Surprise
even
is
more.
okay. There were also girls wearing. At that time, the fashion was really interesting. The white big socks.
Oh, yeah.
And
big
like
socks.
these platform shoes, and like really dark makeup, and then maybe white around here, and then like a kimono or like not a kimono.
Like a yukata.
Yukata in the summer festival.
It's a simple
And the gangster guys who ride the Loudon motorbikes, they wear a black uniform. So they too wear their own uniform. It's covered in badges. Mm-hmm. They're called bosozoku. So at festivals in the summer, they tend to congregate in large numbers.
Yeah,
near the
large
station.
numbers, don't they?
I haven't really seen them recently.
No, I don't think it's maybe such a thing anymore. Maybe it was a phase.
It was a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a fashion. There were also at that time vans or cars with maybe animation inspired accessories that were huge. Like they're very colorful.
Oh, I don't remember those. I probably did see them, but yeah, you forget.
Okay. And surprise, I saw a monkey head in a jar on the main street in the town I was living in, and a snake too. But
Wow.
that's just a one time. That's not.
No,
I haven't seen anything
general.
like that. And I saw my first cockroach.
Oh yeah, no, that was not a good experience.
That's a story. What happened? Somebody came to visit me. A friend, a lady friend, and she needed to use the washroom, and the cockroach was sitting on the little flap. There's a little thing over the toilet paper. It was just sitting there.
Oh no!
She screamed from my washroom, and I'm like, what? A cockroach!
No, I can't do cockroaches, and they're so big. They're huge, and
And they fly.
Yeah, they do fly.
Possibly right at you.
Yeah. No, they're not good. Cockroaches are not good, but unfortunately, there are quite a few here. But, you don't have to. There's a good spray. There's little houses you can buy to get your cockroaches.
Haven't had any in this apartment. So
No, I think they're not as common as they were. And especially if you've got sort of an old place. I lived in a really, really old apartment, which, they used to swarm. But although not as bad as in Hong Kong, we used to come home at night, turn the light, and they would go whoosh, all these cockroaches. Yeah,
wow.
But no, it's nothing like that. Now most of the houses are really new, so, you don't really see them.
That reminds me of something that kind of surprises me. It's like, I think one of the reasons the cockroaches came in is because I left the windows open all summer.
Right.
And so I heard you can put baking soda around the windowsill. But one thing that surprised me is that Japanese are really worried about security. They have bars on their windows.
Yes, I know, yes. Quite often looks like a prison cell, doesn't it?
So I've always lived in an apartment in all my life here in Japan, and so it's okay to leave my windows open in certain seasons. I let the breeze come through.
Well, because it's so safe here, really, isn't it? I mean, it's a very, very low rate of crime in Japan. You kind of don't...
You don't think that
about it,
there would be a problem, but I've had people say, "Oh, well, if you lived in a house, you shouldn't leave your windows."
I think it depends where you live, doesn't it? I think like anywhere, if it's a big city, there's all kinds of people. I think still in the countryside, and I lived in the countryside for quite a long time. People used to leave their doors and windows open, and
So full disclosure, I'm from a very rural area of British Columbia,
right,
where we didn't even lock and my parents still don't. I shouldn't say that on YouTube.
Yeah.
No, they lock their door now.
It's all right. We don't know where your parents are, so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So lots of things surprised. Yeah, and it's true, but mentioning it, I think, oh gosh, yes, and I remember that, and I remember being surprised that you kind of forget, when you've been here a long time, which is why it's nice to talk about it. So what impressed you, do you think, when you first came here? What really impressed you? Or did
all
anything?
of those things, like a lot of those things impressed me. Food, of course. And I just want to say, at first, it was fishy to me, and it sometimes like something like udon was like hard to eat for me somehow, or soba.
Like the noodles, yeah.
Yeah, somehow it was an red bean paste. There were things where I was like, well, I don't think that's delicious, but a cognac. This is a jelly.
Cognac.
There were things that were just like, oh, well, it's my first time to try. And
I think it's the textures, isn't it? There's some very unusual textures of the food in Japan,
and
sort of.
tastes like maybe a little fishy because there's a lot of fish seasoning.
Yeah.
But amazingly, over time, my sense of taste changed.
Right, that's interesting.
So what was at first kind of like, just tasting, now I just love it. I eat it up. Yeah.
So are you a really hardcore? Can you eat, uni and ika and
pretty much everything.
Yeah, pretty good. Wow.
I would say probably the one thing I don't love is, raw horse or raw chicken.
Raw horse meat, yeah.
I actually don't eat meat
Tongue
these days.
Yeah, sort of bizarre things they eat.
Things that are still moving on the plate.
Yes, yeah. But then, apart from that, you quite like Japanese food. Do you cook it?
That's a good question.
I mean, did your husband like Japanese food at home, or?
Japanese food is actually lovely in that you just put the rice in the rice maker and set it, and that part of dinner is pretty much standard and always made
easy.
and easy to take care of.
Yeah.
And then you're just, supplementing what's that. I don't love cooking. I never did. And I am the person who buys frozen foods that are often already mostly cooked. It'll be gyoza tonight.
Right.
So you just put it in the fry pan, fry it, and then add a few vegetables, and there you go. Yeah. Making miso soup recently. I started making miso soup this year, but for years and years I never.
Oh, but the little packet ones you get are amazing, aren't they? I mean, the quality of the packet food and thing is just amazing. It's really just like the real thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's I don't cook either, so I found it a good godsend. And also, it's very cheap to eat out in Japan. It's much cheaper to eat out in Japan than it certainly is in England. I'm not sure about in Canada.
Oh, that's probably one of the delights that hooked me and kept me so no tipping and really affordable and delicious meals.
Yeah, I mean, cheap meals and cheap cafes and restaurants are delicious. The quality is amazing. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I used to eat out a lot with my husband during those however many years we were dating. We would eat out at least once a week.
So does your husband eat Western food as well, or does he mainly like Japanese food?
Oh, he eats everything.
Yeah. And your son? Because obviously he's
he
got both
everything.
DNA.
My son does seem to take a preference to chopsticks over knife. If I put out knife and fork, he'll push that aside and grab his chopsticks.
Yeah, well, I think when you're living in Japan, it's easier to eat Japanese food as well with chopsticks once you've mastered them. Most of the time than a knife and fork. It just goes with it, doesn't it?
They're easier to clean up too.
This is true, and then you get the throwaway ones, which are even better.
Well, you be careful. You're talking to an environmentalist here.
Yes, this is true.
My hashi.
So was there anything that was a problem for you or you found difficult, like when you were first?
So many things. That might take another episode. Definitely my culture shock hit me when I started raising my son, and especially when he joined the elementary school. So I think my whole family were profoundly hit by that first grade, and there are papers that come home from the school like every single day, and of course they're all in Japanese.
Yes.
And there are certain expectations that people don't say clearly. For example, summer homework. I go to Canada in the summer, and in first grade, I had a meeting with his teacher before we went away. And I said, is it okay if he doesn't finish the homework? And she said, yes. I'm sure she said yes. However, from September, October, he started refusing to go to school, and I found out later that he was being kept in by himself to finish the summer homework while everyone else went out to play.
Oh,
yeah,
that's such a
and
shame.
not only that, but that particular teacher pulled me aside, and she said, you know, it's not what we do to give convenience food, onigiri, rice balls, for they have some outings for school, a school outing where mothers prepare something.
Lunch, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I had cleverly chosen a preschool where the food was already prepared, so I didn't have to compete with the other mothers for the character bento.
Oh gosh, yes.
They're
just amazing, aren't they?
It's not my thing. So I got through all the 3 years of preschool with not a hitch, but then in elementary school there was some kind of field trip, and I gave him a couple of onigiri from the convenience store.
Just rice balls that you can buy, yeah.
That didn't go over
No,
well.
I mean, it's like an art form in itself. It's like a competition, isn't it? You know, the amazing bento boxes. I look at some of the students that I teach, and they've got these beautiful arrangements. It's like, gosh, that's just for lunch. Your mother does that every day.
So food is love in this country. However, my language of love is not that. It's spending time together, quality time and conversation. So there is some cultural problems with that.
Yeah, so I think it must be hard as well, especially saying you all the letters were in Japanese. You maybe couldn't speak very much Japanese at that time, probably. It can be quite isolating, I can imagine.
That's right. At that time, I didn't have a smartphone, but I did later get one, and then the wonderful Google Translate, which has become my best friend.
I've just found that as well. Can you believe I've only just found that? It's amazing.
Well, maybe I'd read better if I didn't have it. Yeah, I think the other culture shock for me, besides the education system, is the working life, and especially big companies and
the hours.
My husband working 15-hour days. I just came from a different background where my parents were at home every day. They were landlords, and our cost of living was very low in the countryside. So I didn't have either parent going out to work all the time. So
no, you were very lucky then.
And now my son is a junior high school student. He's out often till 10:30 at night at cram school.
Cram schools are really big here, for the children.
Yeah, I value sleep. My family in Canada had dinner at 5 p.m. My father cooked dinner every night, served at 5 p.m. Wow. So that's
the lifestyle is quite
programmed into me, and it's kind of hard to adjust even now to have dinner after 10 p.m.
Yeah, no, I can't do that.
I don't know how much that's going to be across the grid for people, but if people were working for a Japanese company,
if it's a company worker, they often don't get home till late, do they? Yes. And they often don't get paid overtime. So if you think you're working for a Japanese company, you might have to work all hours without necessarily getting too much extra pay. But again, that's not general, it's not across the board. So there's some certainly some different ways of living, aren't there? Yeah. So we talked about. Is there anything you miss food-wise? I'm thinking of food. Anything you miss from home that you can't get here, or can you get most things?
It's changing now. I mean, 20 years ago, there wasn't normal peanut butter with no sugar. Now there's this sugar butter. Peanut butter that you can buy.
Peanuts butter here is very different.
Butter.
Yeah,
but now you can get it. You can get what I would say like a slightly salty peanut butter, sometimes with chunks of peanuts.
Yeah, sometimes. I still tend to type.
Cheeses are available.
Cheeses are getting better. They're quite expensive, I have to say. They just brought out my favourite, which is Greek yogurt. They didn't have Greek yogurt here forever.
Yes, I found that too.
Still can't find a good hummus though. Should make my own, everyone tells me, but But I think most things you may have to shop around if you're living out in the country. You may not be able to get all your home comforts. But I think big cities, they have most things now, don't they?
I'm a big oatmeal person.
And me too.
I can buy that pretty much everywhere now.
20 years ago.
20 years ago, it was for a Japanese savory soup.
Yeah.
With like mushrooms in it and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. What about do you miss like special foods that you'd have a certain time of the year? Like for me, it's Christmas. I miss Christmas pudding and proper Christmas cake, which they don't get here.
Yeah, well, we're just coming up to Christmas now, and it's a working day. It's a normal school day, probably.
Yeah,
my
they
son.
work here. Yeah.
So I'm thinking of skipping this year, but
Do you make a turkey or?
I have in the past, but I won't this year. Yeah, turkey's $100, and
Yeah.
there's a few of them. Only a few of them in
Yes,
in
and all the
each
foreigners
city.
scramble to
In
get
each
them.
rural city, there's probably 5 turkeys available.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do I miss for food? I guess because my father was always cooking dinner. He caught his own crab, and he would make
wow.
like a crab gratin, and that's really nice. So like I miss being spoiled
home
like
dishes.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of our food, we lived off the land. A lot of the food was really, really local.
Okay, cool.
Neighbor would hunt deer and
Wow.
give us parts. Actually, I've recently got a neighbor who has given me some deer meat, so
wow.
I was able to make pot roast the other night that tasted like home.
That's nice. You need those home comforts at times, don't you? Yeah, sometimes.
But another one of your interviews, I think there was a talk about cinnamon hearts, the hot cinnamon hearts.
Oh yeah.
Spicy cinnamon hearts. I love cinnamon, and I love cinnamon hearts
Yeah, me
at
too.
Valentine's Day. And there's also these little Valentine's things I always want to have for my students, just like little pastels, and they have like "I love you, be mine," and all these little messages on them.
Yeah.
I would love to have those too.
Yeah, so we have to stock up when you go home. But it's okay because there's plenty of good food here. Plenty of good food. Okay, so so we talked a little bit about Japanese customs, the different sort of customs and the culture shock. Any other sort of things that you found were like, oh, very different? Or how about onsen? Do you like Japanese onsen, the hot springs?
Yes, I do. And I have, that's a really good one. Thank you, Lisa, for bringing that up. Because in my first year, I had a best friend. She's a manager of my assistant manager at my school. And we went to Nagano together. And she loves hot springs. And she, come on, Stacy. And I said, no, really, I'm not comfortable with that. I said, I brought my bikini, and I'm like, couldn't I just wear my bikini?
Because you have to be naked in the onsen.
And I had it in my bag, and we went to the hot spring, and I'm dragging my feet, and it was a huge barrier, mental barrier. And
I think
she said, I won't look at you. There's no one else. It's a weekday. Let's go in.
And you do have your little towel.
And she scrubbed my back.
Oh, no.
And it felt so good.
Yeah.
And there was all steam, and I completely did a flip-flop in my mind, and just from that one experience, I fell in love with hot springs, and there's no going back. It's just, I had to get past that.
I think that's it. I think most people I've spoken to, or, most people here, it is the getting past it, because it's just not something we do. We don't show our bodies, I think, even to our family members, It's kind of a very personal space. And in Japan, when they go to the onsen, it's just nobody cares and nobody even thinks about it. So once you've been there and once you've, all right, okay, well, it's great. It feels great. The water's great. You feel great when you've finished. And
yeah, you feel like you step into a different world where all of the social expectations of how you look are just out the window. Yeah. It's back to like the Garden of Eden.
Right, yes. You imagine that's what it probably felt like. Yeah. I must admit, have you been to a not mixed onsen?
Yes, I have.
Have you?
I have.
Not many of them now, but...
I think it's called Kitano in Tochigi Prefecture, where you have to hike in, and there's huge outdoor steaming pools, and too hot. It was like 48. I'm like 48 degrees. You boil yourself. Some of the water you couldn't even get into. Well, I did that once, and I'm not sure if I would do it again. But it was like a challenge at the time.
Yeah, well, you did it. Yeah. It's amazing.
Have you ever been to one of those outdoor hot springs that's not a developed one here in Japan?
Yes. Yeah. Amazing, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, if you can get past it, I definitely recommend it. I know my mother wouldn't. She just wouldn't. And it was like, oh, you don't know what you're missing. But, I mean, it's very easy to say that. So just go for it. Yeah. I would say.
When my family came to visit Tochigi in Nasu, there was a huge hot spring place where you could wear your swimsuits.
Oh, right.
And there were like probably more than a dozen different baths, as well as outdoor pool.
Right.
And then you could cross over a barrier. The change rooms had another exit you would take off your swimsuit. You could do the
Okay.
no clothes divided section, or you could do the
right.
family
There you go.
family section. So that
And
was a
also
nice
you
option.
can go to hotels that have a rotembra where they have your own bath, like your onsen bath in your room. I mean, they're a bit more expensive, but if you really don't want to be in front of other people, that's another way of, enjoying it. Yeah. Good. So any mishaps or any adventures you like to tell us about?
Oh, so many times walking out with bathroom slippers on, like the toilet slippers.
Oh God, yeah, I've done that. I still do that. When you go into the hotels, I think the public toilets anywhere, they have slippers. So you have to take your shoes off like anywhere in Japan inside, and you have to wear the toilet slippers. And so many times, like you, I've just come out with the slippers on, run back and put them back before anyone noticed. Yeah, I forgot that.
There was just when we went to the convention recently, the Association of Foreign Wives, and and we were ready to get on the trains to go home, and we realized that our train tickets were train tickets.
Oh yeah, that was a mishap. Yeah, I have to say, I mean, my train ticket, we bought the tickets together. My train tickets were actually for the day that we travelled up the day before. So it was kind of a really mad rush onto the train. But, if that had happened in my country, you would be, well, the train's already gone, that's it. There's nothing we can do, it's more than our job's worth. Whereas here, even though the train that I was supposed to be on had left, they fully took responsibility and they couldn't bend over themselves backwards enough to, get me new tickets and everything. It was, service. I'm talking about the service before.
The service is
amazing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, amazing.
Even just when we were buying the initial tickets, the lady was looking up our hotel and trying to find the best route. And, really going out of her way. And,
yes, they do, don't they?
We were both really surprised by that.
Yeah, and even in English as well. There's so many of, when we first came out, you couldn't find many people who could speak English. It was much harder to communicate. But I think now a lot of the information places, they all speak English, don't they? It's much easier to communicate. So, don't worry about that. Yes. And what about the culture difference when thinking maybe between yourself and your husband? Were there ever any arguments? Because there were with me and my husband.
Oh. Well, I think a lot of it's just me. I'm a very creative person, and I don't follow recipes. I kind of get my own idea what I'm doing. And so there's certain ways that certain Japanese dishes should be and should have certain ingredients. You don't put certain things in the miso soup, or you cut the vegetables in a certain way. So I can remember just a couple months ago I served okonomiyaki, but the cabbage was cut too large. And the son and husband were like, no, that's totally wrong. And another time, probably this year as well, I used the already shredded cabbage in the okonomiyaki, and they're like, no, you don't use shredded cabbage.
It has to be the right kind of cabbage in the right kind of way.
It has to be a certain size.
Yes.
I think I just have to let it be a duck and wash off.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, there are some things that you'd think, okay, well, I'm just not going to get that, so it's my way.
My way or the highway. Unfortunately, I think we all think that, don't we?
Yeah,
so there can be conflicts.
So mainly, just about food and not really other big differences that you have problems with.
I am so used to sleeping on a futon now that when I go back to Canada and I'm on a mattress or in a hotel, I feel it's odd, like, it's making noise, the springs I can hear, and it's bouncy,
and you can fall off. So how about in Japan? Well, you seem to have been all over. I think you've been pretty much. Have you been to all the islands or
all the islands?
Like Hokkaido,
No, I haven't
Okinawa,
been to Kyushu.
Right, but so you've been living mainly on Honshu, the main island, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
So what places do you like? What's your favourite place, or do you have?
I think we were talking about this, your camper van idea.
Yes, yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to be able to migrate like a bird and be in Hokkaido in the summer?
Yeah.
And then come down.
Well, that's my mission.
I don't know, down to Kyushu or Okinawa for the winter.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I haven't actually been to Okinawa yet, but I'm so want to go. Yeah, it's very different part of Japan, you know. Even though it's Japan, people say it's Japan, but it's not Japan. It's kind of like another place in itself. So, and very beautiful nature, you know. So talking about nature, yeah. So you don't have a favourite place, or that's my absolute favourite place, or somewhere that you lived. I mean, now you're living in Mie.
I think now I have like where I do the forest therapy walks. Those are kind of my special places.
Right.
But I think I can find them anywhere in Japan.
Yeah, so many.
Yeah.
Good. So, I mean, it's anywhere you like. So, any more interesting or funny stories that you'd like to share with us?
No, I think I've gone to the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, and the only other thing I was going to ask you, I kind of more or less answered, was how long do you plan on staying in Japan, or do you plan on being home? So
my grave.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
Here for the long haul.
I really don't know. You never know what the future holds.
Well, this is it. No, and you may get a job somewhere. Your husband might get a job somewhere. You know.
I don't think so, but
or you might just retire.
I might just go away for a short time, or 6 months or a year, to look after my parents.
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking about them a lot. So they're older, over 80.
Right.
So I do go see them once a year, but it's too short. However, I'm working, so I can't. Yeah, it's hard.
It's a hard balance, isn't it?
I think that anyone who moves country always leaves half their self or their heart in the place where they came from.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily the place, but it's the people, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So that's Christmas for me, is to gather people together.
Yeah.
You could have all the Christmas cake and the traditional fixings, but if you're sitting alone eating it, you know, that's not it.
No, it is the people. You have to bring them where you want. Anything else you'd like to share with us today, Stacy?
Thank you for interviewing me, listening to my long stories, and
it's been fun.
I want to wish you well with this channel. And,
Any advice for people who might be thinking they'd like to move to Japan or are moving to Japan? Any advice for them? That, I wish I'd known that, or just something that you've experienced and learned.
Well, now there's a lot of different YouTube channels and a lot of different information. When I came, I read a lot of books before I came. I think you just have to see if it is for you and how much you are willing to adapt.
Yeah, that's important.
And I don't have any advice.
Just come, see it. See if you want to be here with us. We're here. And the Foreign Wives Association is always here for you, if you're a lady or born female. Okay, we'll sign off then.
Thank you.
Bye.